City Skylines II, West Goldfield, Part 2.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of City Skylines on our save of West Goldfield. Now, currently we have a few issues that we want to solve. The biggest two are not being enough labor and enough people who live here, and death care. That's something I forgot to do last time. And I did have an idea as to where I want to put our option for death care, which is a small cemetery or a normal cemetery. I think at this point a small cemetery makes sense, just the price. Mind you, we are still in a deficit. So I'm just going to place this here, sort of out of the way, in not too bad of an area. Now, I am noticing that as of now, I only have demand for medium density as far as residential zones go. But I think that'll fix, and it already is starting to, as we can see down here, as people move in and finish building their buildings. But for now, I do want to consider where we want to put our medium density housing for when we get those bigger medium density buildings I was talking about last time. Right now, I think it would make sense to even put a road that connects here, and then after we finish putting in a few homes here, we can start building out our larger apartment buildings here. And that will still give access to all of these buildings. And I think that will do that now. Mainly because I would like to also expand the commercial district. And I think one of the easier ways to do that is going to be by adding another road that connects up to it. Now I am having a few issues with placing this, but we'll just do it in parts and batches. No, I'm still having those issues. Okay, let's try again and do it from here. So I think I have another issue. The roads aren't even again, but that actually isn't that bad because there's still room to place a few trees here. Now we'll just get rid of these little intersections because we do not need them. Now that we're getting some more low density homes wanting to be built, we'll just allow them to be built now. Building in all of this over here. Why is this house burning like this? Alright, we'll have to figure this out in a bit, but that house is not building how I would like it to. For now, we'll just connect up this road here, and we will build another road over here for the restaurants and anything commercial, really. Now we can just do the same thing, where we are zoning in the low density commercial district. Now I would like to actually not put anything here because again, the power line is in the way. But here on the other hand, we will have space. And we can just place them down like that. We do want this one to be a larger building, and again, we're having an issue with that. Let's see if that fixes it. Maybe. It's not. That's fine. We'll just deal with that later. Now, I do want to lay out the infrastructure for the medium density homes, because once we get that milestone, I really would like to start building because of our labor shortage. For now, we can just continue zoning in low density. There's really not that much to do, so I do want to expand the road now going this way. Now we can see that the slope is still a little off, but it's not too far off, so I think it should be fine to build the roads close as we can to each other. And now right here I'm struggling to connect this up correctly. And I do think this will actually cause an issue and cause the zoning of these houses to have problems. So I think that we'll just go off of here And we'll just put a small cul-de-sac at the end. Because I really do not want to risk destroying those houses. We'll do the same thing here, and probably another time next to that, just in precaution. Actually, a little bit of green space is fine, and that's pretty much got zoning tiles everywhere. Now, I do want to put a house here, just to fix this, and it is looking much better with that. Now, eventually we are going to add in trees, but I realized this last time. Each tree actually costs a lot of money, at least for us right now, while we're in a deficit. So, to counteract that, we're just not gonna place trees, and we're just gonna keep trying to get that tax income that I was talking about to solve the issue. Now, I am seeing a slowdown in zoning requirements for low density, so I think it's time to develop the industrial sector. Now, I'm not sure why I'm seeing a lack of high skill labor because we do not actually have the ability to build schools yet. Well, we'll have to figure that out. And another thing I want to do in a few minutes is figure out what we're going to do with our development point. If you don't know, a development point actually gives you the ability to get a few different upgrades, essentially. You can get advanced road surfaces, which is actually what I like to unlock first. You can get better power plants, better water systems, and better services overall. For me, it's probably going to be the road infrastructure and editing tool, just because, in my opinion, it's the most useful, at least early game. I think I might end up building a few row housing units just because of how many issues we're having with taxes, not having enough people, and not getting that milestone. Now we are actually pretty close to it, as we can see we're 3/4 of the way there. So I think I might actually hold out and just keep on building. Now, I did take away the houses being able to be built on this road a while ago, and I think I'm going to keep it that way, just leaving a little bit of space for trees in the future once we have the budget to add them. And I think we'll get rid of that too, and make them rebuild that house big. So we've zoned up all of these roads that we can, and I guess we'll just continue along the coast. Again, this is about all of the area we can zone up over here, except for a few spots here and there, but I'm not sure what I want to do with an area like this, just because there's going to be such few houses, and I might actually continue the road over here. Actually, I can throw in a few more homes here. I'll do exactly that. Now, we are still having a labor shortage, even though our population has gone up, and we can actually click on the buildings to see how much. That's a pretty big gap we're seeing. Only about 40% of the people they need are actually employed. So, I think we should build row housing. I'm just not sure where I want to build it, and if I actually want to go through with it, for the reasons I mentioned before of just not looking great, requiring a ton of parking, and just not being overall great as far as what we're trying to do. And I am going to try and hold out, and I guess try and build a few more buildings in the meantime for low density and commercial. There might not be much to do except wait, but because we have all of our infrastructure, we can actually keep an eye on that. We're still exporting electric, and we still have plenty of water capacity. Our healthcare availability is good, and actually everyone has access, you can see by the green. So is death care. Death care is also doing good. Now I am seeing more demand for residential, and I think it makes sense to keep low density houses on the coast. So I'm just going to expand out the roads and see what we can do from there.
Now this right here is the finished product for our zoning. At this point, we do still have a labor shortage, and we do still have demand for medium density. And honestly, I'm still just gonna hold out. Even though it says there's unoccupied buildings, I think we'll get demand back fast. So in the meantime, I'm gonna try and develop what we can, which seems to be only industry. Which I think it would make sense to, at least where there's space, to just take some small roads and expand them this way. Allow for us to have a few more buildings. And again, I'm just going to use the road zones tool to get rid of it, zoning on this side to keep order in traffic when traffic does ultimately become an issue. Now, I don't want to zone in too many because I do want to make sure that they are full-sized units, but we can fit another one there. And if we get rid of the zoning here, we'll be able to fit another unit here. And I think we can actually maybe fit another one if we expand the road here. Looks like we can, so we'll build another factory here. Now our demand still hasn't gone down, which is partially a good thing, but we are running out of space unless we develop over here, which honestly I want to wait to do, because I don't know if I want to do to begin with. I am just going to continue zoning in these areas, giving us a few more factories and a lot of tax income. As we can see, we should be able to see where we're getting our taxes from. And surprisingly, unlike what I said before, commercial isn't our biggest taxpayer. It's actually residential, which is fine and is very good. And we're going to continue building residential because we have many issues, which residential can and will solve. Now I did realize I could just do stripes so that the residential will actually build on its own pace, and as we can see that's happening and they can develop where they'd like. Now we should check on our deficit and check on our services to see what's taking the most money. We can see that our garbage processing status is fine, so we should be able to lower the budget, which will save us on money. So we can just drag the budget down, and it seems like we needed around 70%. And that should be good for now, as that saves us a lot more money than we would have had otherwise. Compared to going to... This is the how much it costs right now. And if I left it at 100%, it would have costed a lot more. So we'll just drag that down. And I don't really like to touch healthcare and death care, but it is usually very expensive, so we are just going to lower it to 50%. As the area is still very small, and not with a high population. Again, we see industrial demand coming in, and I think that it would make sense to maybe even consider buying a tile now. I think that if we did buy one, it would be this one, especially because it has access to the water, which is in a broader, larger body of water, meaning that we can actually use shipping routes in the future, and because there's a railroad going right through it. Also, as far as our need to get money, it would help us because we can build new roads, which would give us more space for taxes. So I think it's a smart idea while we're still not struggling too much and our deficit is actually much smaller after shrinking our service budgets. So we'll just purchase it there, and we'll actually just expand this main road. Now, something I do want to keep in mind is a little space between this main road, because I do think I will eventually want to expand it to be at least a 4-lane road, as it is going to be the backbone of our industry. I think that this time we're just gonna do a straight road and just put it near the turn. And again, we're going to get rid of the ability for zoning tiles on both sides. Now it is on a hill, which is a small problem, but again, like we did with the residential, we'll just have to leave a little more space than we would have otherwise. And there we go, that's our achievement. Now with this achievement, we do get upgrade points and zoning tiles, along with some money. I believe what this unlocks too, though, is medium density housing, which is going to be very important for us. And I think that the best thing to do with this medium density housing is to build it as soon as we can to get that tax revenue up. I think we're going to place it along here, but not directly on it to keep traffic manageable. So we'll just expand this road here, and because it is larger buildings, we do want to leave some space between the smaller single-family homes. We'll keep that in mind when zoning, and leave about 3 tiles distance. We want to make it a 6x6 so that it fits a lot of people in it. And as we can see, even just building this building, our demand hasn't even gone down, so we'll just build a few of them. Now actually that second one did satisfy the demand, but as we can see, we do have more demand for residential, as far as low density goes. So we'll just finish zoning in this area by dragging across. And that should zone them all in nicely. We can see that 2 more buildings built for our medium density, which is good. And we can see that our deficit did go up, since actually there is a upkeep fee for these land tiles. So again, we're going to finish what we started of expanding our industry sector across a road here. And again, because there is a slope, we are just going to leave a small amount of distance between. And we'll just connect the roads up like this. Now again, I do want to get rid of zoning on the sides of these roads as I want them to be facing the main way. Now I did have to move the building a little bit just because of how bad this slope is. Now we are going to have to fix it with our tools in the future. Actually, I think we can do that now. Now this is the first time I'm using this tool on this save, but what we're going to do is make the brush size smaller. And we actually right click where we want the top of the slope to be. And in this case, I think we should put it about here. And we can just click and drag across. This will make a small, steady slope, and it should allow everything to be more organized. Now what I like to do is go to the soften terrain tool, and I like to click down to make it smaller, and you can just click and hold and it'll soften out the terrain. It makes everything look so much nicer and just makes everything make sense, as we can see here. Now there is a little more to do here, and I think that we can just use the level terrain tool, right click, and obviously make it smaller again. And then we'll give it some more space here. And because it's a smaller area, we'll just use the soften terrain tool. And this should fix the silly slopes going on. Now we probably won't have to do anything as drastic over here as the hill is smaller. So here, again, we'll just zone in our industry. I am going to leave a little bit of space between the road because it is still going to not look great if we do not. Now I do think I want to change this to be smaller so that it fills out the space a little more behind it. Now right here, this isn't looking too bad, and we have mostly fixed our industrial demand, and honestly, we shouldn't keep building it because of a few factors. There isn't high-skill labor or labor to begin with, and there are still unoccupied buildings. Now speaking of skilled labor, to get skilled labor you need to have educated citizens. What we did just unlock with that milestone is education. So what we can do is actually build schools now. With that said, I think we should figure out where we want to place our schools. I would like to build a small elementary school just because of its price, but the city does grow exponentially faster now that we have medium density homes. So I think it would be wise to keep a normal sized elementary school. And I think if we built it somewhere around here, it would be in the center of where our city is going to develop, and it would look nice. Now, I'm not sure if I want to build a road down the middle and just put it on the road, or if I want to just place it here. But I think it would make sense to build a road because we are going to need to build one through anyways if we want to make good use of our space. So we'll just click another road down the middle, and we'll just place our elementary school. Now, if this was a city elementary school, I would worry more about there not being trees between or at least space between. But because it is a smaller school, I think it's fine. With that said, we can use a little bit of this space here to build one more medium density home for when we have the demand. Now, oh no, that is alright. I thought I messed up on the sides. So now, I think we can actually build one more row of homes here for the low density. And about this point in the game, I do like to try to stop building as much low density homes. Now what we did just get is a pop musician mansion, and this is a signature building. It has a usual small boost, and it'll increase well-being, which actually does a good amount in the game. And I think we can place this along the river, as this is a more famous or high-profile person. And we can just place that there. And it will look nice enough, but I think we should move it a little bit just so that it's not taking up a really bad area that has a really bad slope. This is looking nice, and they have a nice view on the water. Now, of course, over here I'm not going to build medium density homes, so we will just take a normal road and probably just put it down this way and end it with a cul-de-sac, just like this. And now we can just put a few homes along it. Now, unlike the other area where I didn't want to like share space between this road and the homes, I am gonna share space between the main road and the homes. This is because it is a nicer area, as in the game, when you're closer to the water, it is actually gonna make it a higher land value, which gives more taxes. So we're just gonna zone this up, and we're seeing demand fall, which is a good thing. But it's gonna come right back. Now again, just like I've been doing before, I want to keep things on the road that is actually built for the homes. So we're going to get rid of the zoning there and allow it just to be built where we'd like. Now we're just going to continue zoning in small areas until the demand is gone. And it looks like the demand is gone. Now again, we have a ton of space over here, and I think it would make sense to relocate our landfill, because it is just taking up a lot of space, but I'm not sure if we have the money for that right now. With that said, we can develop the areas that we still have space in. So I really don't want to place anything too close to this hill, because it does look like it's going to keep being an issue as far as fixing slopes and gradients and all of that. So I am just gonna build a normal road, bring it right through, and that will just give us space that will be more usable and have less issues. Now, because of the underground highway under here, my tool is still snapping to it, which I do not like. So we'll just turn on snap to zoning, cell length, and snap to 90-degree angles, and that will not be an issue anymore. Now, I do want to think about the future where I would like to maybe eventually place a railroad at a cargo railroad station. And I do think that it would make sense to have it here because there's a railroad going right through it. So we are just going to be mindful of this and keep this in mind for the future. And we'll just continue zoning in buildings. Now that's all zoned up. And actually here I will put a smaller building because there isn't that much space. And as we see, our medium density housing is becoming in demand. So we'll just build a few more homes here, keep it in the same area. Now I am seeing that they're trying to build smaller ones, and I do not want them to do that. So I am just going to get rid of that and make sure that they're building real sized and large homes. Now I am just going to get rid of this because I don't want them to build smaller homes without me noticing. At this point, we can see our population has increased a lot, and we can also keep in mind traffic is flowing very good. But something I did notice last time is there's a traffic light here for almost no reason because very few traffic actually goes to the water pumping station. So I am just going to get rid of this traffic light. Oh, I'm not able to do that. Right, so that brings us to our development points. And this is why I said I want to get advanced road services. It's only 1 point and it unlocks a lot of features, including me being able to get rid of this traffic light by just right-clicking. What I can also do is get rid of one of these crosswalks to manage traffic better and make sure people aren't crossing too much. Now, I did also just remember, I never built a high school, and there are 157 people who are eligible. At this point, I think it would make sense to build a city high school just because a normal high school and a city high school are the same price and have the same capacity and upkeep. But the city high school just takes up so much less space. Now, granted that it's meant for cities, I think it would make sense to keep it near the medium density housing. With that said, I don't want it to be too close because I do like having buffer zones. So I think we can place it here, and eventually we'll add a few trees. Something worth mentioning also is we did actually fix our deficit, and we are no longer losing money. In fact, we are making money. As we can see, our taxation is now being mostly driven by commercial. Not that both residential and industrial aren't paying a lot of taxes, but commercial is giving us the most. Speaking of commercial, we're still having issues with lack of labor in both the commercial and industrial sector. Now, something else I am noticing is hearses are taking way too long to arrive. So, I do want to figure out why that is, and here's the reason. The small cemetery only has 2 vehicles, and I do not believe there's an upgrade for that. Now that's an issue because I'm not going to be able to fix this unless I build another cemetery or eventually a crematorium. Now I'm not sure why this is happening because it does say here that it is supposed to have 8 hearses, the small cemetery, but as we can see, there's only 2. Oh, there's a reason. 6 of the vehicles are in maintenance. Now, I'm not totally clear on what that means, but I have seen it before. And I'm not sure why it does that, and it just kind of doesn't make sense to me. So I am probably going to look that up eventually and try and fix that, but we'll have to see. Now, again, we're on a very fine line of making money. As we can see, it's going up and down, whether we're making or losing money. So to fix this, I do just want to build more housing for medium density homes. Now, that should fix our tax issue of not making a lot of money, but we'll have to see, because we are adding a lot of people to the population. Now, what I do want to maybe try and get is just more commercial, because it is a huge taxpayer and is massively beneficial. The other thing I'm noticing is there's actually a lot of warehouses and not a lot of production. as we can see, this is a warehouse, this is a warehouse, this is a warehouse, this is a refinery, that's a warehouse, that's also a warehouse, this is a warehouse, this is a warehouse, this is a warehouse. There's a ton of warehouses, and I'm not sure why that is, but I have noticed that in other saves too. In the beginning, there are just so many warehouses. With that said, though, I think that's a good spot to leave off. Anyways, that's the end of this video, and I really want to thank you for watching through the whole thing. It really means a lot. In the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them down below, and have yourself a great day.